Yeah, I mean, to me, the important thing on the design part is the customer typically has a design, and we're kind of working with them to try to get their ideas of what they're trying to accomplish, and at the same time, get input from the Chinese engineers on their manufacturing capabilities and what they can offer and what they can do. And so then it becomes a kind of a balancing act between what the customer needs and what manufacturing can produce to be able to get drawings on a model that is going to meet the customer's needs and at the same time is something that's going to be well within the production capability of
Yeah,
manufacturing.
yeah. And another example that I dealt more directly with was a company called Jibs, and it's a very simple product. It's something. It's a glasses band that actually has internal to it. It's got a sheath, and internal to it, when you decouple in the center, there's a cleaning cloth for your glasses. And that was a product that was already designed, but the owner of that business was having trouble getting good quality product. He couldn't get good castings, good quality in the sewn materials, and he came to us looking for help with the sourcing of that product. So we used our supplier base, and we created a prototype for him for that product, and that was just the beginning. Because at that point, then he said, well, I need a point of sale box. So we worked to develop a point of sale box with the inserts. And then he came back after that and said, well, now I've got somebody that wants to have a bunch of those point of sale boxes, but they want them in a display case right next to a cash register. So we then put that together. So now for this one customer, we're supplying everything from the product all the way through final packaging and point of sale. So
But the reason some of these factories will have problems is that they go to Alibaba and they find a source. They think they're dealing with a factory, but they're dealing with what's called a
sourcing company.
sourcing company, and therefore when they go out and get the product manufactured, it may change over time because they may start with one factory and they may shift production to a different factory, which then has different production capabilities, different materials, and that kind of creeps into the product, and it's kind of blind. The customer's blind to that change. So that's a disadvantage if you don't know who you're dealing with and you don't have that relationship. So.
Yeah, direct to that. I worked at a previous company, and this company was developing a product for use in the U.S. It's for Little Caesars, but it was they call it the pizza portal. But anyway, it had individual doors, and you could they would store the pizzas into these individual compartments, and you could show up, scan your phone, door would open, take your pizza, and go on. Very interesting. They ended up using them everywhere. But the point is, on the initial units, each one of those doors had a unique little DC motor, and they went and sourced those motors. They sourced 50 of them or whatever from Alibaba. Well, whenever they sourced them from Alibaba, we designed everything around that particular motor, the torque curve for it, the current draw, everything. And the next time we got ready to order them, the motors came in, they were different. So now nothing works. So it's just an example of what happens when you don't have that personal touch. And the true irony of it is that this particular company actually uses TyTek for other things. They just didn't think to contact TyTek on this particular usage. And if they had, they would have saved themselves a lot of grief and a lot of redesign and a lot of work down the line, because they would have had a consistent motor, because TyTek would have actually sourced it from the factory as opposed to sourcing it from a sourcing company, as we said, that is going to shop it around to 10 different factories and just pick whichever one has the best deal of that week. So
Yeah, I think the other thing we do is when we work with a factory, we try to find a factory that has the expertise in producing that type of product, whether it be a molding or a magnetic assembly or an assembly that involves extrusions. No one factory does everything. So even our Chinese partners have to outsource to their supply base certain components in an assembly. But if need be, we'll go out and visit those sub-suppliers to make sure that they've got good
Well,
capability.
speaking of, we were talking about Netterman. That actually draws on many different types of factories. Just in that one product, we've got a spinning factory, we have a magnet factory, we have a tubing factory, platers, a rubber factory for the bumper that goes on it. There are many different factories that are all pooling together and creating this one assembly, and that's something that Netterman can just look to us to do, and they don't. That's something that they can take off their plate. They just get the complete product.
And if there happens to be something like an adhesive or in a paint, then we can typically supply that from the U.S. if it's a say a known requirement on a paint or an adhesive that maybe they can't locate. We can get it in the States. We'll just source that, ship it over to production,
Yeah.
and they'll use that. That helps a lot.